Locke, I sent you a request. Blake, have you had Dave East at the Middle East? No, I didn't. He always played. Oh, there he is.
Yo, yo,
Hey, Locksmith, how you doing?
what's going on, my dude? How's it been? Long time no talk.
Good, good, good. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I'm just introduce real quick for everybody tuning in right now. You are in tune with the Leedz Edutainment podcast. We are a special guest this week, Locksmith.
Yeah,
This is
man.
a sort of a reunion. We haven't seen each other in a while. Do you remember when you played the show with Ray the Rugged Man? Do you remember that event?
Of course, man. Of course. Yeah, you talk
Nice.
about the Middle East a couple
Yeah,
times.
yeah. And then you did Merce. You opened up for you were the direct support for Merce, right?
MERS. I think I've been up there a few times, man. With RA a couple times, I
Yeah.
believe. With MERS, I think I was up there with Joe Budden.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Forgot about that one. Thanks for
Yeah, yeah,
reminding me of that one.
yeah, yeah,
That was an interesting show.
yeah. I
It's
remember
always
that.
an interesting show with Joe
Yeah,
Budden in the
yeah.
building.
Yeah,
But
I
work.
think that one.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
think one time with RA, we were. I think Sean Price was there as well.
It might have been, yeah.
I think Sean Price was there one of those times. R.I.P. Sean Price. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely R&P. I probably have done as Sean Price is probably the most booked artist I've done.
Wow. Really?
Over 17 years. Sean Price, probably Cool Keith, R.A. the Rugged Man. Those are probably some of my most booked artists.
Are you guys? Are you guys doing shows? Like in the area yet, or at the Middle East? Or
No, the Middle East, I think they're planning on opening up in the fall, but it's
okay.
not. They're booking, but you never know. You never know with that place. You never know.
Yeah. You never
Just
know, especially now. You never know what's going on.
it's a tough business. So I mean, for any venue to just survive what just happened is like,
Yeah.
wow,
It's crazy.
you know.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes,
But so I
sir.
want to generally when I do this, I just kind of I kind of just go back a little bit just to give people that are tuning in just a little background. But you
hmm
are born and raised in the Bay, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And your father was Persian. Is that what it?
Yep.
And your mother?
My father's Iranian. My mother's African American.
Yeah. You know what's I got to ask. You know, I've worked with a few Persian rappers, and they've come and they've gone. Like they've popped up and then they've disappeared. I have Muslim friends out here, and what's your experience being a Persian rapper? Is it a difficult thing, or is it?
Well, I mean, that's a that question has a lot of that answer. The answer has a lot of layers to it,
I bet.
because like I said, my father is Persian, my mother is African American. So
Right.
growing up in the United States, I always knew I was Persian, obviously, but I want to say culturally, I was raised African American. You know what I mean?
Right.
So as a rapper, growing up, um, I was considered black. You know what I mean? I consider myself black. So growing up as a rapper, I never came into hip hop like I'm going to be a Persian rapper. I knew I was Persian. I rapped about it in my songs, but I think just from a cultural standpoint, everything about me culturally was from the African American perspective, as far as just like the style, the swag, everything I came up in. Even though as I got older and as I was able to incorporate more Persian aspects into my music, but from a cultural standpoint, coming up, I was African American. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I think that obviously has to play some factor in that question of what you're saying. What was it like? So I never saw myself as like a quote unquote Persian rapper, although people be like, yo, you're Persian. And then when I start putting it out in my music, as I start doing solo, because I used to be in a group at first.
Right.
And when I was in a group, we were more, it wasn't, when you're in a group, there's obviously there's multiple people putting ingredients in the stew. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
when you're a solo artist, you're kind of just creating it on your own. So you're able to allow more of yourself come out at a more frequent pace. So when I start, by the time I met you, I'm already, I just started putting out solo material. I just started kind of like starting my career as a solo artist. So with that, I was able to I had to incorporate more of myself in my music. So obviously the Persian aspects start coming out.
Yeah. Totally understand. And I want to go back to the group. The first group was Frontline, correct? That was the name of the
Yeah.
group.
Mm-hmm.
With it was
Yes.
two of you, right? You and Left. Is that the guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, at the very beginning, it was three of us. But
Ah,
by the time we start putting out music and start getting notoriety, it was just two of us.
right. And how would you describe the sound of the group at that time? And this is what, late, early 2000s? Is this mid
This is
2000s?
early 2000s. Yeah, this is like 2003, 2004. You know what I mean? Is when we start really
Yeah.
getting noticed. 2005. I would say from 2003 all the way to 2007. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were putting out projects, but the sound was, I mean, it was definitely hip hop, but we kind of got clumped into the sound that was going on in the Bay Area at the time, which is like kind of the Bay Area hyphy movement. We're credited as helping like start that, but our music was always a little bit more conscious, a little bit more lyric driven. So I think that's what kind of set us apart, but it still was definitely a Bay Area influence, the sound, the music. You know, we had production from producers like EA Ski, who kind of gave us that West Coast kind of sound that really allow us to reach and connect with people locally, you know what I'm saying, in that area, because it was, you know, it was what was popping.
Who were some of your influences in the Bay growing up, like learning the craft? Who were some of your?
Well, I had my older sister first. I had an older
Yeah.
sister that was an MC. So growing
Right.
up, you know, in the early 90s, she was an MC. She, you know, was doing stuff locally. She actually toured overseas. She never signed a record deal,
Right.
although she had offers and stuff like that. But she was opening up for like local groups, doing talent shows with like Black Alicious,
Yep.
E40. I think she even, although it may have been like a dancer, she was a dancer at the time, but I want to believe even she opened up for Digital Underground, Tupac,
Dope.
and that stuff. But then
Dope.
she did showcases with like Nas and stuff like that. And so that was probably my first influence. And then obviously like you know, in the Bay Area, like, I mean, even as early on as like MC Hammer and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Too Short, E40, SIBO, um, Dangerous Dame, stuff like that. Those, you know, those are all early 90s,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Late 80s, early 90s stuff. All that, you know, was a heavy influence. But by the
Yeah.
time I kind of got into my musical taste, my brother, because my older brother was more into like East Coast rap. So that's when I kind of got more introduced to like Big Daddy Kane, EPMD, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, I was always amazed being over here in Boston, the Bay's local scene and community. It really sticks together, and you guys were really able to have a scene out there in a smaller city than, you know, LA or the New York type of thing. You guys really kind of crafted your own sound. What's the secret out there? Like, you know, what makes the Bay so special like that?
Well, it's just different, you know. It's different from. It's like you said. It's not as heavily densely populated as the East Coast. It's like say a
Right.
New York,
Yeah.
and it's not as spread out as say as LA. You know what I
Right.
mean? But it is a city. I want to say it's very diverse. Like the Bay Area, you know, you have your hood area, but it's not technically it's not an urban market. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because so the sound is kind of created in these little pockets, you know what I'm saying? Where you have like Oakland, then you have Richmond, Vallejo. Of course, San Francisco is the main city, but everything is kind of spread out. Then you have San Jose, and you know, it's just spread out. So I think that diverse, because if you look at the Bay, you have hieroglyphics, you have In Vogue, even the funk sound was birthed out of the Bay Area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Fantasy Studios and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, Rick James, here's a little story for you. One time I went to there's a famous studio in the Bay in Sausalito. I don't know if the studio is still open. It may be just be privately. It's a private studio, but it's called The Plant. A lot of famous I think Metallica bought it at one point in time. But in the 70s it was a lot of 70s and funk artists used it. You know what I mean? It was just like world renowned. Like everybody used it. They were either using like Fantasy Studios or they were using the Plant and some other ones. But the Plant is famous for that. So anyway, I had a session one time. I was there at the Plant and we were kind of getting a tour. And they were like, "Yo, this is our A room. This is our B room. Blah 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 blah." And then they had this fucking one of those old school, like, you know, those old school Pac-Man games. They were
Yep.
like flat, like the flat table. And he was telling us all these stories. He was like, yeah, somebody, Prince came here and this person recorded here. And he's like, you see that video game over there? And I was like, yeah. So I was like, oh, this is old school. You see all those scratches on the table? He's like, you know where that's from? I was like, nah. He's like, man, Rick James had a pile of cocaine on him. And he said when he heard that Sly and the Family Stone or somebody, they was up all night. He's like, man, I got to top them. So he said he spent the whole like 3 days straight or something, like sniffing cocaine and like creating like classics. You know what I mean? He's like, those are his cocaine scratches on that table. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. But so that's the Bay Area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real. So what, your sound when you guys came out, they called it what? New Bay Area sound, New Bay sound, or what you got pigeonholed into that or something?
So we kind of started that sound. So at the time when the New Bay, so around 2003, I participated in the MTV. The MTV had this MC battle contest. I don't know if you remember that, where it was in Times Square. Sway was hosting, Carson Daly.
Yeah.
So the first one was held in 2003. And at that time, out of it was like something like 10,000 MCs, you know what I'm saying? And out of the whole, so I'm a cat from the Bay Area. I went out to New York. I was like, yo, I want to get known. I want New York to recognize me. So I went out there and battled my way all the way up to the top. So it was me, and the last two people was myself and Rain Man at the time, but now he goes by RJ Payne. Shout out to RJ Payne. That's the homie from Philly. So we were the last two that were in that battle, out of the thousands of people. And it was broadcasted on TRL. And all the whole time when I was on there, when I was winning, when I was on TV, I kept shouting, this is the New Bay, this is the New Bay. And people kind of like gravitated towards that. And I was like, yo, that's the New Bay Area. Because at that time, we were only known for certain things. So everybody was like, yo, who is this cat, coming from the Bay Area, spitting bars like this and going toe to toe. So, I just said the New Bay, and people, and then when I got home, we were like, I was like a celebrity. I didn't even realize, like, people were like, yo, Locksmith, the New Bay, and it just kind of like gained traction like that. So that's how it didn't, I wouldn't say it technically had a sound, but at that time it was just something we said, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this the New Bay, because we were just new up and coming dudes,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It was just new artists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the battle rap, was that always the thing, or did that become a thing?
So I just stumbled into battle rap, man. Like, I didn't try to be a battle rapper. So as it went was, I want to say 2000 maybe, or 2001. No, it had to be earlier. So, all right. So I think it was 99. So the first demo I ever recorded with me and my two homies at the time, we were frontline, but nobody knew about us. So we recorded this demo, 3 songs, and we sent it to the Unsigned Hype in the Source. You remember Unsigned Hype, right? In the Source?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we wanted to be an Unsigned Hype. That was the goal. We were like, yo, Biggie won Unsigned Hype, Mobb Deep. Like, we want to be like, we want to win. If we get Unsigned Hype, we can get signed, we can get a deal, blah, 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 blah. So we made our demo. We sent it to Unsigned Hype, and we were just waiting to hear back. You know what I mean? So we call up there because they used to have the phone numbers in the Source. You could call. You know what I mean? So we looked up there. I called the guy. He was like, "Yo, we haven't got to your demo yet, but we'll let you know." So we would call like every few days or every week. So finally, they was like, "Yo, you guys are the guys from Cali." He was cool. He's like, "Yo, your shit is dope, bro." But we already picked the winner for this year. We're like, well, who is it? He was just like, well, it's this white kid from Detroit. He's working with Dr. Dre. And we're like, man, some white kid? Who is that? You know what I mean? And fucking turned out to be Eminem. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, I had never heard of Eminem, but that was like right before he started doing like those wake up show freestyles and all that kind of stuff, and him and Roy. So then we started hearing him on the wake up show, like, oh, that must be that fucking dude that they were talking about. But they were like, yo, you didn't win the Unsigned Hype, but if you want, we're going to be coming to your town. We're going to have an Unsigned Hype in your area. We're like, really? Yeah, we're coming to San Francisco Bay Area on this day. We were like, really? You're like, yeah. So what do we got to do? He's like, nothing. You just sign up. You just show up. So we're thinking like, okay, we're going to bring our demo to Unsigned Hype, play it. So we get there. It was like maybe like a few weeks past. We get there. bring our demo. And they're like, what is this demo for? I was like, this unsigned hype. He was like, nah, this is the unsigned hype battle. I was like, a battle? He's like, yeah, you just got to sign. I didn't even know what that was at that time. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I knew what, but I had never been in like a live battle, you know? I just didn't know what that was really. So anyway, I signed, all of us signed our names, you know, because you couldn't be as a group. We were like, yo, we a group. It was like, nah, you can't battle as a group. You got to first. So
Right.
anyway, yeah, we started battle. They says like, all right, everybody gets, you know, there was like, I don't know, 100 kids, 200, 300 kids, hundreds of kids there signed up. And it was a big deal because everybody, you know, who wants to be a rapper showed up, you know. So I remember it was at the mall. It was in the middle of the mall and in front of Macy's. And we signed up and they called my name. And at this time, I think I wasn't even sure about my name. Like my friends, they was just calling me Locksmith. They was like, that's your name, Locksmith. I was like, I don't want that name. That's a stupid name. You know what I mean? They're like, nah, you're Locksmith because I had said it in a rap. So, but I remember when the guy asked me like, what's your name? I was like, Locksmith. Oh, he's like, oh, yo, that's hot. I was like, oh, maybe it is hot. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm Locksmith.
Yeah.
So I get up there and he was like, you got 30 seconds. And I forget what beat it was. I don't even remember, but I just got up there. Oh no, I think it was Biggie Who Shot You. You know what I mean? And I just got up there and I just started rapping. And everybody's like, oh, that was my first time getting like reactions from people. Mind you, I had never done that before. I had never like got in front of a live, you know what I mean?
It was a freestyle? Was it a freestyle?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, at that point in time, everything was completely
Right.
freestyle. You know what I mean? So I'm just freestyling off the top of the dome. I'm just rapping about shit that's just there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they were just like, oh, and it was like, all right, you move on to the next round. I was like, all right. And then they just start putting people in front of me, and you know, you just had to go back and forth. So I just took a nap, and I got all the way once again to the last two people. So out of these hundreds of people, it was just me and another dude, and whoever won got to go to New York, and I didn't win.
Damn.
And but I still got the notoriety. People's like, yo, Locksmith.
Who did you lose to? Who was the guy that beat you?
I ended up knowing him and we became friends. I don't remember his rap name. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, it wasn't anybody that's just like famous or anything now, but he you know, he became a homie of mine. But yeah, I mean, nothing, I don't think nothing ever came from it. It wasn't like, yo, he got signed or anything like that.
Right.
But it was an experience. But then I found out I had a knack for battle rapping, and I found out that I could build a name, like I could build a name, like a brand. Like people like, yo, it was a quick way to get notoriety, you know, for your skills.
Right. Word. Yeah. So it takes off from, and what year did you say this was?
It was before Eminem, or it might have been right after Eminem came out. So or like the Chronic or something. You know what I mean? It was 99.
All right. So then you go back. So the group, you're back in the group then.
I'm still in the group. Yeah. I'm in the group. Like all this is just like ancillary. This is just like other stuff to support. You know what I'm saying? What I was already doing as a group. But my name started ringing. You know what I'm saying?
Were you doing a lot of circuits and like doing a lot of battles in that time period?
Well, you know what? There wasn't a lot of battles. So,
really?
But anytime, not out here, you know, not in the Bay Area.
East Coast was packed. Battles.
Say that again?
After 8 Mile came out, there was a battle every weekend.
That was later, right? 8 Mile was like 2003 or something. Right? Yeah. So after that, you know what I mean? That's when the MTV shit happened. You know what I'm saying? But prior to that, you would have local battles, and I would do some. I would do them. Like I think the Source had another one. I did another one the second year. I didn't win again, but once again, I got notoriety. Everyone like, yo, Locksmith, he was the best one. Like he should have won. You know, so my name was buzzing, and then there was just like local battles, and I was doing radio battles on Cameo, on the radio station. That got me a lot of notoriety. Every week they would have these battles that you would just listen to on the radio. And I was just battling cats every week for like 4 or 5 weeks. And everybody know like, yo, that's Locksmith. And every week after you win, they would let you play a song. So that kind of, I would play our song and that would be like, yo, that's Frontline. You know what I mean? We start doing local shows based off that recognition.
Right. So how long did the group last for?
I want to say we put out our last project in 2007.
Right. And then you kind of, after the group is done, you kind of go solo. You kind of start becoming more known of a solo artist around 2010, right? Is that kind of when it starts to surge?
Well, I started. So the thing is after 2007,
Yeah.
that's when battle rapping kind of re-emerged, like as far as like grind time, like the Smack DVDs,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then grind time, and then KOD, and then Smack, and then URL came out of Smack because they saw everything was online. So when I started seeing grind time, which was a battle league back then, um, they started doing battles, but one of the guys was from the Bay, and they were having battles in the Bay, and I was just like, oh shit, that's in the Bay. And then in my mind, I was just like, yo, I want to keep rapping. How do I get my name buzzing again? As Locksmith. Let me go back to battle rapping. You know what I mean? So, and I saw the format had changed to be more just like a cappella, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to rapping on the beat and you don't know who you're battling. It's just tournament style battling. This was more like, you know who you're going to battle a month ahead of time. You prepare yourself and you go on and battle. I was like, oh, that's right up my alley. So around 2008, so the whole 2008, 2008 and part of 2009, I was just in battle rap mode. You know what I mean? So I was just like, all right, this is how I'm gonna get my name back buzzing to start kind of people recognize me as a solo artist, Locksmith. So then that's when I started battle rapping in grind time. And that really kind of got
Yeah.
my name like buzzing on like YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that. Was like when that started like really becoming a thing. You know what I mean? Like just the online presence.
Yeah, and let me ask you, you've done both. You've done freestyle battle over beat, and you've done the a cappella written thing. Which one do you prefer? What do you think it's two different skills, or because I hear a lot of people say different things about each.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, yes, it is a different when you're getting down to the very nuances of it. Yes, it is different. You know what I'm saying? Being completely improvised, obviously, is very different than when you just have everything completely memorized.
Right.
But you asked me which one. Are you asking me which one is
Which
better?
one do you? Which one do you mean? Which one do you prefer? What do you feel that the different skill level is on each? Do you think it's?
Well, the skill levels. I
Well,
mean,
it's like because I have guys that like battle rappers out here that used to the freestyle battle of the beat, and they won't touch the written stuff. And then
yeah.
it's the other way around, vice versa. So I'm just curious for someone who's done both, well.
All right. So I look at it like this: if you take an exam, I was gonna say that's a bad example. I was gonna say it's kind of like it all depends on you and your mind. Like you tell me which one is more difficult to master or which one is harder. It all depends on you. Like for instance, I'll give you an example. When I was in college, right, I went to UC Berkeley.
Yep.
I remember I would have exams and they would be like open book exam sometimes, or they would be like essay exam, or let me bring that back. They'd be like, would you rather have an essay exam? Like, would you just, your exam is like an essay, or would you rather have an in-class exam that you have to study for? And most people would be like, oh, I want to write the paper, but because, you can sit there. And to
Right.
me, I feel like it's better to have the in-class exam because you're graded differently. You know what I mean? Because you have to commit everything to memory, so people grade it. But if you're doing they're gonna fucking go through your shit with a comb and be like this. They're gonna be way more critical of it because you have all the resources at your disposal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But when you're doing off a study and it's just like you get to express and talk about yourself more, you get to you put things in a frame and you contextualize it based on the knowledge that you have. But if you have all the resources, then that shit you have to basically, there's no, you know what I mean? You have to, so it just depends on how you want to look at that with battle rapping. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying one is the exam and off the dome is the I'm just saying like, it just all depends on what you think is harder for you. Me personally, I think it takes way more preparation and focus and concentration to prepare. Like it does. You just have to. But if you've been practicing your life at just going off the dome and being completely improvised, that takes preparation too. But it's more of like a blanket kind of preparation. It's not like when you have to be like, yo, I'm battling this person. I'm specifically focusing on him and I got to prepare for that. You know what I mean? So it takes a level of brain power to be able to come up with that information and keep it and be able to process it and spit it back perfectly.
Yeah, and the thing about the written battles is too is someone was telling me, one of the guys that ran it, it's like you basically got to come up with an album worth of material in verses, correct? Like when you battling somebody.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, a lot of these guys now they're doing battles with unlimited rounds, and they're going
Yeah,
in like, and to me, and that, you know what? That's when I kind of fell back. I was just like, yo, I'm not about to, because because at the end of the day, I always wanted to make albums. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't
right.
want to take away from a thing, because when you're in a battle, when you're in the battle arena, bro, it takes focus. Like it's like a boxer. Like you got to train. Like you got to be training. You got to be focused on that shit. And if you're not focused, somebody can come and fucking knock you out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not the type of person, I don't want to get knocked out. I don't want to lose. Like, you know what I'm saying? I want to be sharp. So when I was battling, I would make little songs here and there, but 95% of my focus, or 90% of my focus, was on battling. Like, who's my next opponent? Who's my next opponent? Let's get ready. Like, I'm already coming up with bars before I even know before the opponent even, agrees to the battle. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you
Yeah.
have to do. So it just takes, so that's why people always ask me, would you ever get back in battling? And my answer is like, I'm not going to say never, but right now that's not my focus. And until I ever felt the urge to want to really dedicate myself to that, I wouldn't play around with it, because whatever I do, I like to do it 110%. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's a lot of battle MCs can't do songs. That was always the thing that was brought up in hip hop, is like, yeah, they can battle their ass off, but they can't make a record that anybody wants to listen to. And it's great that you can do freestyle, written battle, and make
Yeah.
albums,
I
man.
mean,
That's quite the skill.
it's nuance, man. It's a different discipline. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though it's all hip hop, obviously, but
Right.
just because you can battle rap doesn't mean you can make songs, and just because you make
Right.
songs doesn't mean you can battle rap.
Right.
It's just like, like I always tell people, it's like two things. It's like the dunk contest in the NBA. Just because you can fucking, like, you got guys that are fucking off the hook dunkers in games, like they just
Right.
look fucking amazing, but you
Yeah.
put them in a dunk contest, it's like that dunk just looked like a regular dunk. Like, it doesn't have the, you know what I'm saying? And vice versa. Like, you see a guy in a dunk contest, he's incredible. He win a dunk contest, but he's sitting on the bench, you know what I'm saying, in the game. So he might be an incredible dunker, but sometimes you get people, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, who can do both at high levels. You know what I'm saying? So,
Who are some of the toughest opponents you had?
well, when I was doing the online battles, I just focus on that. I battled, let's see, I battled Password. Shout out to Passwords. Daylight. Shout out to Daylight. Disaster. Shout out to Disaster. And a guy in Florida, Johnny Storm. I mean, they all, you know what? When I was battling, I never looked at it. To me, it didn't really matter who was in front of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was a performance for me. Like, I
Right.
just looked at it like, I have this material, I have this performance, I'm prepared for them to say this or whatever they want to say. I can, I can go into I can go into some improvisation if I need to, but I have an outline of all the things that I'm going to say. You know what I mean? And based on what they say, I can mix those things around, but I have an outline. So whenever, I can always fall back on that outline. But basically, I just looked at it as a performance. You know what I'm saying? So it was never about like basically, like, the other person didn't even exist to me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Ah.
Like, I was just like, yo, I'm battling for the people in here, and I'm battling for the camera and for the people. And that person can say whatever, because I can't control that. They can come up with the dopest bars in the world. But if I'm focused on what they're saying and I get emotional about it, then I feel like that's when you get knocked out. You know what I mean? At least that's how
Right.
I thought back then. Now, I know it's evolved into different shit now, but that was my mind frame, back in 2009.
Yeah, you mentioned Battle and Disaster. He came out here and did one of the King of the Dot battles, man. That
Yeah,
dude
yeah.
was a beast.
Shout out to Disaster. Yeah, he's killing
And
it.
he was the one, it was one of those long ass battles where it was like 10 minutes or whatever each or something. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
yeah,
an album. I was thinking about that's an album worth of verses. You spit it once and you can't spit it again.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
you just wrote an album, did it once, and said goodbye to it.
yeah,
That's freaking crazy. You know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
see
I
why they
mean,
want a lot of money. I can see why they want a lot of money for that, you know?
it's like I said, it's a different beast, man. It's a different discipline.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's got sucks that we only spit it once, you know? That's
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, see, that's the thing for me. I was just like, yo, the main thing for me was when I started, when I was coming towards the end obviously I knew I didn't want to be like a battler, you know, I didn't want to be doing it forever. But
Right.
I was just like, yo, I just didn't have the desire to spend that much time making up a bunch of shit about somebody else. Like I just
Right.
didn't, I just didn't have it in me. I was just like, I don't care this much about that person. Like, you know what I'm saying? It didn't, it didn't inspire me creatively. You know what I mean?
Right. So let's talk about the transition into albums, back
Mm-hmm.
into solo albums. At
Yeah.
this point, it's what, 2011, 12 maybe at this point? What is it?
Yeah. The first real solo project that I put out was 2011.
Which
Ski
one was
Beats.
that? Ski
Embedded with Ski
Beats?
Beats.
Entirely produced by him?
Entirely produced by Ski Beats. So I went out to New York. I connected with Ski Beats,
Yeah.
Dame Dash's studio, Manhattan. I was supposed to just go out there and do like a song, and he was pulling up beats, and I just kept rapping. He was like, "Oh shit," you know what I mean? We did like 4 songs and shot a video the first day I met him. And he told Dame, he's like, "Yo, we got to do an album with Lock." And you know, I came back like a few days later. I just stayed in New York. I think we finished that album, like that whole project, basically in like a month or maybe just like a few weeks. I came back to New York. We like fine tuned it, and that was it, man. And you know what I mean? We just, you know, we just built it like that. That was
Was
my,
that
and that was,
odd? You worked with Dame Dash. Was that Rockefeller that put that out?
that was when he was DD 172.
Ha. How was it
Remember
working
that?
with Dame? Yeah, vaguely. How was it working with Dame? Is he as wild as he seems?
Well, no, I mean, you know, I primarily was working with Ski the most, but
Ah,
Dame was there. You know, Dame would come around, like he had an office in the building,
yeah,
but we was mostly working at night. You know what I'm saying? And he would be
yeah.
gone, but Dame was cool. You know, he threw a couple shows. I think we had a show at like Best Buy Theater, and but it was short. It was very short lived. Like you know what I mean? It was short lived. I think maybe that year 2011. After that, it was dissolved. You know what I mean? But I thought it was a dope experience for me to just be able to work with Ski Beats, obviously, put out the project, got to do some shows and a little bit of touring. That's when I first met Murs, because Murs did a he was doing a project with Ski Beats as well. And Ski Beats was like, "Yo, you gotta hear the Lock." He was like, "Locksmith from the Bay?" Yeah, because you know Murs is from California. He was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." So that's actually how I ended up meeting Murs first time face to face, was through Ski Beats, and then now he's one of my, you know, closest friends.
I've
And
done a lot.
that's how I met RA too.
Yeah, I've done a lot of Murs shows too.
Yeah, that's the
Murs
homie.
is that steady, like he's just
Steady.
steady Eddie, man. He just, he just does his numbers. Every year he does the same numbers, and he makes his money, and that's what it is, But he stays in the game. It's pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
I learned a lot from Murs. He works super hard. Matter of fact, I was doing a show with Ski Beats. I met Murs, I want to say that night, and I met RA that same night. RA just happened to be at the club. Like he was just like, "Yo, I came to check out my man Ski. Yo, Locksmith, your shit was dope." Like I literally met him that night, and we just, you know what I mean? I don't think we exchanged numbers, but we like connected and we just talked. And then I want to say maybe like a year later or something, um, we reached out, or I don't know if I met him somewhere or we just reached out through social media or something. Now he's like one of my closest friends.
Yeah. And it seems like from this point on, you've been this kind of like going up, and making moves and putting out
Thank you.
dope music. I mean, what's it been like over the last, 7 or 8 years since this whole solo career? How would you categorize that
I
experience?
mean, it's just, man, I just try to focus on, like I've learned from guys who are independent, like Murs, R.A. the Rugged Man, Chris Webby, you know what I'm saying? Another New England homie. Like,
Oh yeah,
I just learned.
Connecticut.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I learned from those guys. I'd be watching. I'd be like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Even though I may, have people know me in my own right for other stuff, but I'm always willing to learn. Like, I learn. I can honestly sit here and say that I learned how to do live shows from watching Murs and Ari the Rugged Man. Like straight up. Like I watched Murs because I had never really. I mean, like when I was doing stuff with the front line, we had radio hits that were all over the radio in the Bay Area. So we didn't have to perform. We just come out, the radio songs play, we make a couple grand, and we go home. You know what I'm saying? Like it was easy. But
Nice.
then when I started kind of reestablishing myself underground, and I went on a tour with Murs, and it was different. I had to like earn the audience's respect. You know what I mean? And I watched how Murs performed, and I was like, oh, that's how you rock a crowd. You know what I mean? And then when I went on tour with RA, I was like, oh, that's how you rock a crowd. You know what I mean? Like somebody who fucking really like, and it pushed me to grow in my live performance and as far as my music, even making songs that I feel would translate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To live performances. So I just try to constantly learn, man. I'm still inspired creatively. So I'm always like trying to create and trying to get better as a songwriter and as a musician, as a producer, just like all those things as a live performer. Like I love the shit. So I'm just going to try to keep on growing.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if I can do that, my career will be able to, hopefully it'll keep growing, but it'll always be able to sustain.
Now you talk about being an independent artist. That's something you mentioned that a lot on the records about being independent. It's very important to you. How is the grind? How's the independent grind?
Well, it's a beautiful struggle. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, it is.
It's a beautiful struggle, because it's not easy in a sense. Like you got to put in the work. You know what I'm saying? But it's not really work when you love it. You know what I mean? So it's just like you going. I mean, I think with Murs, that last time I saw you when I was with Murs, I mean, we did like 42 shows.
Yeah, it's a huge tour.
You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't get off the road, man. Like, and I want to say that was the longest show. That was the longest tour that I did straight through. You know what I'm saying? So it's not easy. Like you can't just expect like after a while, you get tired. Like, you know what I mean? But the thing that keeps you going is like you love it. At least for me, like I love it. I want to keep growing. I look forward to seeing what people like, building new fans. You know what I'm saying? Like just growing off that. So that's very important. So
have you had major deal offers?
I've had some major situations where I've sat down and talked with people, but it was nothing that I thought was at the time that would benefit me. The trade-off wasn't enough for me to sign to where I thought like, because I just seen so many of my homies and other people sign deals for good or for worse. I mean, they do benefit from it in some ways, but I just never wanted to be in that situation. I just felt like if I ever sign a deal, it's got to be on terms that I feel 100% comfortable with. Like I'm fine with making compromises with certain things, but certain things I'm not. So until it comes along, if I never get a deal, that's fine. Or if I have to just keep on working until I get the situation that I feel is comfortable for me, then I'll just keep on working and keep on growing,
Right. No, I saw you over the last year or so get really political. You did the Biden versus Trump video.
Well, I mean, I've always been political.
But yeah, but you made videos about it, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you really kind of, it was a time to go in. So, I mean, is this something you say you always been where you more felt like, what are your views technically? Because you seem like you don't pick a side. You just hate, I don't want anything to do with anything.
My side is the truth. I mean, if I see people saying shit that's just like, you know what I'm saying, that doesn't make sense, I'm like, yo, that don't make sense. I don't care if it's like Biden or Trump or whoever. I'm like, yo, that doesn't make sense, you guys. Like, so I just try to put out the truth, you know what I mean, as I view it. If I get something correct, if I get something incorrect, then I'll correct it. You know what I'm saying? But even that song Biden versus Trump, that particular song, like I tried to be fair. Like I tried to go from both sides and be like, yo, this is what, you know what I'm saying? This is what Trump is saying because this is what Biden is doing. This is what Biden is saying because this is what Trump is doing. Like I didn't make a song that was just bashing all Trump. You know what I'm saying? So, and I didn't make a song that was bashing all Biden. I just wanted to show both sides. Like, look, you can find like both of these people have an agenda. So I don't bash people for voting for Trump. Even though I don't vote for Trump and I don't fuck with him, I'm not gonna bash somebody because because there's this lot of shit that Biden does that I don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? Like for me personally, I couldn't find myself to vote for either one of them. I just could not do it. In my mind, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna vote for Biden because we got to get Trump out of here. But when it actually came to the ballot, I just fucking couldn't do it, dude. I just couldn't check Biden. So I just didn't vote for either one of them. And people think, well, if you don't vote, then you're wrong and you didn't have a say so. Like, no, that's incorrect. Like there is a political stance of not voting. It's a technical term. I forget the name of it where I withhold my vote. That's a political stance, to be like, I withhold my vote. Unless you do something for me that I feel is worthy of my vote, I choose to withhold my vote. And that is a political stance. So when people say you're not participating, no, I am participating. I choose to withhold my vote. That's part of the voting process. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Do you catch a lot of heat online?
I mean, I caught a little heat, but you catch heat for any fucking thing online nowadays. I mean, I don't fucking care. I think it's just, I feel like as long as I have people that's close to me that I respect, I have mentors. I talk with them about a lot of the things, a lot of the information that I get. I don't get it, but I consult with people who I'm confident in. I consult with my own knowledge and things that I know. And if I put it out there, I stand behind it. You know what I mean? And some people may not get it. And sometimes they might get it 2 years from now, 10 years. Like right now, people are starting to be like, yo, Biden is this. I'm like, yeah, I told you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's how I look at it, man. I just try to stay honest, try to stay sincere. As long as I do that, then I feel like I'm in good shape.
Yeah. I see you've been posting recently on the Palestine. Is that the Free Palestine movement? Have you been participating in that since it's been going on? I mean, it's been going on for a while, but have you always been a part of that movement?
Well, I've been pro-Palestine since I was in high school.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
You know what I'm saying? And let me make that clear. Like, I'm not against any Jewish person or any person, but I do have problems with the tactics and just the very I have problems with the operations of the state of Israel. So, you know what I mean? From that standpoint, but I think violence is horrible and I don't want to see anybody die, but I've been, lobbying and protesting and demonstrating for Palestine since I was 17 years old. You know what I mean?
So for those that don't know, what's going on like right now that's like more bad than it's already been?
Well, look, I'm not an expert on exactly what's going on right now. You have people are dying on both sides, but if you look at what's going on in Gaza and you look at the Palestinian people, obviously it's way more damage. Yeah. But I'm not going to sit here because I'm not the most knowledgeable on every aspect, but I will say from the way I view it is that Palestinians are being killed. The Israeli government and people who are pro-Israel are saying that they're attacking terrorists. They're attacking the terrorist factions. That's the way it's being justified, because I like to hear everything from both sides. I listen to right-wing Jewish stuff. I listen to far liberal stuff. I listen to religious stuff, but I just try to hear everything from everybody's standpoint and not from emotional. Be like, okay, well, what is Ben Shapiro saying? Okay, well, what is Young Turk saying? Okay, what is, you know what I mean? And I don't engulf myself in it by any means, but I try, when I'm curious about things, I tend to look and I try to say, okay, this is what's going on. Okay. And that's the way they look at it. But obviously, by no stretch is it. It's not a stretch to say that far more Palestinians are suffering. You know what I mean? And that's bad.
It's been going on for a long time.
Very long time.
Yeah. Well, it seems like there's a lot of people really adding to the numbers that are supporting it. So hopefully, something comes out of this. But it just seems like it's one of those things that it's just that bind that doesn't break. It just
for the first time, I can say for the first time I've seen it, I've never seen this much support for people, just like because of the internet. You know what I mean? Right. So many people supporting Palestine. The word Palestine is just in the, you know what I mean? It's out there in the universe now. Whereas before that was kind of like only people who knew about it knew. You know what I mean? So I think that's positive. So it's bringing awareness. So it definitely puts pressure on the Israelis military and the Israeli government, how they're perceived in the rest of the world, especially here. I don't know how it is in Europe and other places, but definitely you can see in social media, people have got questions. They're like, yo, what's going on? And I think that that's going to have to be addressed.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it is. So, also want to talk about this new album, the Lock Sessions 2.
Yeah.
How do you, this is a heater right here, man. I mean, it feels like you really came into your groove. I mean, you've been in your groove, but you feel like this is like really came into your groove. I mean,
Thank you, man.
featuring, and you've been leaking singles. I've been this whole year. You've been on fire.
Thank you.
This album's got Exhibit, Razcast, King Crooked, Webby, Atmosphere, John Connor, Futuristic, Eco. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Echo, Echo.
Echo. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Battles, Jag, Two Zion Eyes. I mean, it's stacked. It's freaking stacked. And you hold your own with all those guys. And I know all those guys respect you, and those guys don't just do tracks with anybody. So
yeah, for sure.
Talk about the process about making this album.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to say probably about half of it. Well, I had quite a few songs done before like the pandemic started, and I had a whole game plan going in. But then when the pandemic happened, it was like, oh shit, like everything stopped. You know what I mean? Your normal way of doing stuff just changed because you can't go on tour, you can't do stuff. So I had already been kind of planning on changing my strategy anyway. So I was like, okay, this is a great way. Let me release these singles. I like to do a lot of videos, and I had quite a few videos, like the songs I did with Exhibit, a few other songs. I had already had the videos done. So I was like, okay, I have some videos done. And at that point, early April, we didn't even know if we could go outside. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, can we go outside? Can we even meet other people? I was just kind of like trapped in my apartment, But I was like, you know what? I think now is a good time. Let me just go ahead and get off this music. And I started releasing the music. And at the same time, I was creating music too, which I normally wouldn't do. Normally, I would just spend all, like 6 months or however many months creating music, and then I would release it, But this time I'm like putting out music and I'm creating new music while I'm releasing, and I'm changing stuff and I'm doing stuff. So that was kind of a cool process. Like I liked it like that, and I'm shooting videos while other videos are out. And then I'm saying like, okay, but I still always had an outline of what I wanted to do. And that's kind of how how it came together.
Right. The video for With God, I mean, that seemed like a pretty big production. I mean, what are you using for video teams here?
So for that, I mean, that's my guy, Justin Marmo Films. He shot that video. He did the Biden versus Trump video as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big production too, right?
Super. Well, you know what? We made it work. I mean, honestly, it's just me, him, and I think the makeup, shout out to Stacy Makeup. She painted, made me look like Biden and Trump and shit like that.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Other than that, it was just us. And we had a couple guys that kind of help us with certain things, but it was small, man. We just set up a green screen and we kind of put it together. But the Exhibit video, that was kind of a long shot. Shout out, I can't thank Exhibit enough, man. Shout out to Exhibit, just a great dude. Built with him, man. Razcast, great fucking dude. Brevi, sung the hook, great fucking, just great people, man. And they came through and, and made the song complete. And I was like, yo, I want to shoot a video. Let's do it like it's all good. Went out to LA, shot the video, and it came together, man. It wasn't, I wanted to get a car. I was like, yo, let's get an old school car. We got the old, Exhibit pulled up in the Ferrari. I was like, damn, should we use the Ferrari? No, we just use the old school car. It has more of a West Coast vibe, but and Raz came through, and and I just did a new song with Raz too that he's working on, so that'll be dope. Yeah.
You call the song With God. A lot of MCs don't put God in their song titles, or don't touch it, or don't know about it, or don't want to know about it. I mean, do you consider yourself a religious rapper, or spiritual rapper? What's your approach on that?
I mean, I don't consider myself none of those things. I mean, I consider myself a spiritual person. You know what I'm saying? I'm Muslim.
Okay.
But I don't try. I mean, I talk about my life, and that's a part of my life, obviously a huge part of my life. So it comes through in my music, but it's just who I am. But I'm not, when we were making With God, I actually wrote my verse, and I hit up Exhibit. I was like, yo, I got a beat I think you fuck with. And I sent it to him. He's like, that's hard. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna come up with my verse. I'm gonna record my verse and send it to you. I sent them the verse, and he's like, this shit is fire. And then like the next day he called me. He was like, yo, I got somebody in here with me. He had Razcast in there. He's like, yo, he's like, FaceTime me. They both got on the song. Brevy did the chorus, and it was like, yo, your song is complete. I was like, thank
That's
you guys.
fire.
So I in the song I said God, and I think Brevy kind of took what I was talking about, you know what I'm saying, like God. So she kind of took that as like, okay, we, you know, not in so much religious sense, but like we're walking on a higher plane. Like we put our faith in something higher than this bullshit. So I that's the way I took it as when because she actually wrote the chorus, you know, for that track. So that's why that's what I took from it.
Yeah, it's dope, man. It was really dope. All right, look, we'll wrap this up, man. I really appreciate you coming through here, and then we know you got the show
No,
coming this you know, May 22nd
Saturday,
at Saturday at Jewel Nightclub in Manchester. It's an early show from 4 to 8
early
p.m.
show.
So make sure you get there. Shout out Kate Dava for, you know, putting it all together.
Yeah, you can get tickets in my bio. Go to iamlock.com. You can get tickets. Coming to New Hampshire, the Northeast.
Yes, and for those that don't know where Manchester is, aka Manch Vegas, it's about only 30 minutes north into New Hampshire, about an hour from Boston. So anyone can really even get there pretty easily.
Is that the same Manchester where they made the movie about with Ben Affleck or Casey Affleck? Did you
No,
see
that's
that one?
Manchester by the Sea. That's in Massachusetts. There's a town called Manchester by the Sea in northern
Oh, there's a
Mass, but
Manchester.
it's
Okay,
a
so
little
this
more
is
east.
it's a little bit more east. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. This is Manchester, New Hampshire is like the biggest city population-wise in New Hampshire. It's southern New Hampshire.
Gotcha.
It's technically southern, so it's more densely populated, but it's
Gotcha.
going to be
Gotcha.
dope. And like I said, make sure you get there early. It's an early show. The venue had to move around a little bit, so it's 4 days.
Yeah.
You can get
Hey
tickets in
man,
my bio
we
as
just
well as
coming
Locksmith.
back off the pandemic. This is the first. This will be the first show that I've done in over a year.
That's
Like
dope.
in over like a year and a half since. Yeah, this will be the first show that I've done in front of an audience since 2019. So
Crazy. It's funny because things are starting to get booked again, and
yeah,
people are hitting me up, and it just feels weird.
we're
Feels
real
weird to be
weird.
talking about doing shows again.
Facts. Yeah.
But Locke, thank you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Leedz Edutainment podcast, and we'll talk soon, Locke, and I hope to see you soon.
For sure. Appreciate it,
All
my
right, man.
brother.
Peace.